A wonderful football match between Colombia and Argentina. In television, I hasten to add, setting a standard that is going to be very, very difficult for any international team to aspire to in the next 3 or 4 months in the lead up towards the World Cup. It's again going to be difficult to interpret this game without having visions of the magical football that Colombia played, reminiscent of Brazil at the best in the 1970 period. But here we have France with Bernard Lama in goal from Paris Saint-Germain, of course, the team which refused the French Football Federation to substitute for Marseille. French team, as I said, will have Eric Cantona and Papa up front, Martin of Auxerre just playing in behind them. And we expect Le Guen right in the middle of midfield in front of Roche, with Sosi and Deschamps in midfield, of course. Petit from Monaco, who'll be in the Champions Cup now. On the left, Desailly, playing only for the second time for France, on the right. Deschamps. And right at the back, Blanc, from Laurent Blanc from Saint-Etienne. Deschamps. Headed strongly away by Roche. Beautiful touch by Cantona, looking for Papa. And I think Papa may have been about a stride offside. The Finnish goalkeeper played for the first time recently in a friendly against Kuwait. Out on that far side, it's Lindberg trying to go through. Look for number 7 right on the edge of the penalty area. Jari Litmanen. To take this, Jari Kinnunen. Well, the French simply cannot get going in midfield at the moment. Now, this is the man I was talking about, Litmanen, feeding it back. He's going to be marked very closely, though. Beautifully knocked back there by Desailly. Looking right into the sun and off balance, did very well to get that clear. Pushed forward by Sosi, going down the right. Well, we've seen this long-haired gentleman before, Rajamaki, Marco Rajamaki. He's got to be watched by the French because he scored 3 goals for Finland, and that is saying something because they're not the most noted goal scorers in European football. The long leg figure of Desailly, pushing it there to Blanc. Well, you probably watched our coverage of the game that the French had against Sweden, and they were 6 minutes away from a remarkable victory there, which they would have thoroughly deserved. They played all the most intelligent football and made the Swedes look extremely predictable. And this should, by comparison with the Swedes, be something of a canter, but you never can tell. A very mellow evening for football on a very good pitch, so the conditions are absolutely ideal. Well, I would imagine the Finns will dig in a bit. Tommy Lindholm. Coach with a very sensible coaching pedigree. Had a bit of foreign experience, played in Turkey. Look at that lovely ball to Papin, and I think again Papin and perhaps Martin were both offside. Well, here's a gentleman who might be getting an extra bonus in his pay packet. Corentin Martin, because Auxerre now got in by the back door into the UEFA Cup. And I must say, I wouldn't complain about that. There are marvelous clubbers there, run by the famous Guy Roux, who does everything from picking the team to cutting the grass. Deschamps. Deschamps down there looks confident enough. Behind him is teammate Desailly from Marseille. And there goes this very colourful character, Rajamaki. I wonder if any of the players are tempted to hold on to that ponytail of his as he flies away from them. That's Sozy, typically hunched look about him as he goes forward at times. And the French break with great speed. Martin going in with a wonderful chance. Can he put it away? Side net. He had Papin just inside him. Now I wonder if we do see a replay of that, if you might judge him to be a little bit selfish. He had Papin just inside, approaching the penalty spot. Well, you never see much expression from this man. He's quite impassive, and I must say, having taken over from something of a French legend, has done a very good job indeed as manager. Played by Eriksson. Well, I imagine eventually they'll be trying long high balls to Patelainen. Patelainen, renowned for his play in the air, very good jumper of a ball, and scored a goal, a very vital goal for his club Aberdeen on Saturday against Glasgow Celtic. Martins come in, and again Papa might just conceivably have had a ball chipped in front of him. He was in a very good position indeed. I think the linesman checking him for the position of the ball. 26-year-old goalkeeper. I remember him playing in the game against Austria in that surprising 3-1 win that Finland had over Austria. And he had some excellent saves just at a time when Austria were beginning to get back into the game, so he's very useful. Where's Papin? There he is. So typically shaping up to fire that in. You notice how he doesn't really care if there's a player in front of him. He prepares to take the ball well. Cantona fighting for that. Deschamps, well, the Finns are really giving it out here. Playing very physically. And at this stage in the game, not at all intimidated either by the French reputation they brought with them or by that fiery start. Although it remains to be seen just how long they can pour water on this French attack. Strong headed away by Laurent Blanc, and I think he was nudged as he did it. Features there of Emmanuel Petit. Young player, he's only 22. Good future in front of him. He's only had 10 caps so far. Well, the other game being played tonight, of course, which has an important bearing in this section, is Sweden against Bulgaria, to be more accurately. Bulgaria against Sweden. All tightly bunched at the top of the section. Although I would put a few Franks or Sont teams anyway on France getting there to the States. Papa played it quickly to Martin. Didn't read the 1-2 quickly enough. Now then, Deschamps. getting that in his favorite position in midfield like that. Oh, taken away from Cantona. Now then, this is the man, Litmanen. So far, not seen very much of him. Of course, that's typically what happens when a commentator boosts a man like that. But take it from me, he can play. Deschamps. Cantona. Almost waited that well as Sosi came in from the back. One of these favorite runs of his. Watch Sosi doing that a lot in this game. Untroubled at the back. Easily cleared by Blanc. And we've got a squadron of B-47s flying overhead just now. Fear not, they will pass. Well, it was a very fiery pace to start off with. Papin, is he getting away from the goalkeeper? That certainly was an infringement, and he was the last line of defense. Well, he was really taken out of the game there. And it's always about interpretation. Now, if he was the last line of defense there, he should have gone off. It's quite deliberate. Free kick. And I wouldn't like to be either the Finnish goalkeeper or that line of defenders, because they're faced now by one of the best strikers of a dead ball in European football, Frank Sosi. Oh. Yeah, he's holding the side of his nose there, number 4, Kanerva. Sosi he's got variation in his free kicks. He either really lets blast, or he tries to cover it both ways. Well, nothing may have come of that apart from a yellow card, but I can say the signs are ominous there for Finland that Papin is beginning to get in behind the defense and away from his marker. And if that's the case, it's only a matter of time before the ball ends up at the back of the net. And Martin's coming back to mark Litmanen. Litmanen scored 16 goals for his previous club before going to Ajax. It's not just goal scoring, of course. He's a very skillful player outfield and got a very fine touch, but certainly getting no support tonight. Martin. Sosi. Picked up this time by Blanc, who's decided to come forward. Away goes Rajamaki. Touching it in there to the top goal scorer, Hjelm. Well, he does look a bit like a Viking, doesn't he? I suppose they have to have somebody in the team that reminds them of their heritage. This will be taken by Pedaja. Aiming for the long one. I think he might be looking for Patelainen. Up it goes. Oh, a bit of... They were indeed, and Patelainen being wrestled down and complaining to the referee. What they'll try and do is put it out to Patelainen, and normally he does get a touch to it. Sometimes I think a high percentage of the touches don't go directly towards goal, but he lays them off to others. He'll certainly try that. Still no scoring. Martin. Yes, he'll get a free kick out of that. Very useful player, and he's, I think, one of the quickest men on the field. Driven in, and there's Papa. And the whistle goes, though. Still no scoring, and Papin looking ruefully at the goal there. Tried to glance it away, but still no goal.
If you have a vision, you harness all your energy, knowledge and curiosity, then something extraordinary can happen which makes it possible for you to reach out for the whole world.
Hello?
We create superior products for all our futures. Samsung, technology that works for life.
Downhill and cross-country. Every discipline, every stage. The 1993 Mountain Bike World Cup on Eurosport. The specialists from Europe and America start out for the challenge of a great season. The Grundig Mountain Bike World Cup is brought to you on Eurosport by Grundig. The Mountain Bike World Cup, Thursday 7 p.m. here on Eurosport.
What a Finnish team, I think, must be satisfied that they've played this far and thwarted the initial thrusts of the French, which were very dangerous indeed. Papin beginning to get away from markers. And now the game has settled down into certainly the Finns being defensive, but not as far back in their own half as they were in the first 5 or so minutes. And they're gaining a little more possession. Jari Kuninen at the back from Kusisu, local team. Well, this little man sort of flatters to deceive. He gets around a lot, and there's no question at all about it. He gets into the box, but his finishing, as I've noticed in other games, hasn't been all that good. And for the first time, the French panicking. Le Guin getting a set to it. Sozzi was back as well. And I think this might be difficult for the French defense looking into the sun. And it comes, and well away though by Blanc. There's Patalainen, and he did very well, as I pointed out. He's exceptionally good getting his head to touch it to others. That's a big fellow right in the middle of the screen just now. From Aberdeen, of course, in the Scottish Premier Division. Desai. Well, so far Bernard Lama hasn't been trouble at all. Must say I like Bernard Lama and the way he deals with the pass back. Well, he won't be under pressure with that one, but I've seen him under pressure in the Parc des Princes, both for France and for Paris Saint-Germain. And he is the deftest, perhaps, of all the goalkeepers I've seen. In a way, he can take it with his feet and dummy and shimmy, almost like a Beckenbauer at his best. But so far, nothing much to bother him. Free kick. And I think he'll try a little bit of curl in this. Does indeed, swings it way across to the far post. Neatly put in there by Le Guin. Well, they're holding out so far. Down comes Petit to take this. Takes it well to his right foot. Very much a left-sided player. Did well to chip that in. Anxiety, I think, showing in both benches. I think for Lindholm, Tommy Lindholm, it's just a matter of getting respectability for Finland now. Absolutely no chance of doing anything towards the World Cup itself. That was Deschamps. That's the way again, and no dig behind that. As I said, he tends to flatter to deceive, little fellow Rajamaki. Finland have only scored 4 goals, and they need to do better than that to go anywhere in World Cup football. Petit getting a little bit of support from Le Guen, who's beginning to wander a little bit. Whipped away there by Lindberg. Well, he had to get it, but notice that nobody was man-marking Papin. Again, Papin was hovering at the back. Sozy. Well, they're picking off the French in midfield much better now. The trouble is they can't counter-attack to any great effect. That's a better ball from Cantona now. Deschamps. Away by Eriksson. And the Finns trying to get the ball through to the top goal scorer, Hjelm, number 9, Ari Hjelm from the St. Pauli club. He's one of the experienced players. 20 goals he scored for Finland, which is a very big percentage indeed. Well, poor Mika Paatelainen is really getting it in the neck just now from the French defenders, because I think they're beginning to realize that if there's any minimal threat at all, it's going to come from his head. Taken there by Petaja. Well, it's done with almost monotonous regularity. Paatelainen getting up and touching it with his head at the edge of the box, but to no great effect. Well, I don't imagine for 1 minute that the Finns should start getting brazen, but they at least should be growing in confidence to a certain extent. And at the back, they're taking all these dead ball situations there. A little header there by Hjelm, the player I was talking about. At last being able to break through. And yet again, I think that French defense may have been upset by looking into a lowering sun. Look at the length of the shadows. Desailly. Desailly, I think, playing to show people he's not affected by the current disgrace. And I think that was a little display of temper by Didier Deschamps. Cantona. Martin. Petit. And look at all the white shirts coming back to get behind the ball. Well, they want that out well. They realize they're going to be playing against a very deep defense indeed, the French. And they'll have to be patient. Sozy. And too often being caught in possession, but Desailly Lovely turn by Deschamps. Beautiful play. Papa! Cantona. Papa was inside him. Cantona got the header. Superb play by Deschamps. Taking the player on, and it was Cantona who came in from the back. And a neat little touch there by Ykkönen. Ooh, that was bulleted in. And Papa was lying very handy in case that had gone across the face of the goal. And the best chance of the game yet for the French. Well taken by Petit, going forward confidently. In that play you saw there, number 7. I think the Finnish television director expects the same sort of thing from him as I did, and he's hardly seen the ball. Papa. Well, Cantona taking up his position at the far post. A really aggressive move there by the French. Good build-up by Deschamps, and then that glorious header by Eric Cantona. Picked up by Eriksson. Well, the one thing the Finns will have to do is play it simple and correct, or else they're going to be very punished. They can't afford slack passing like that. Desai is in. Looked to me as if there was a flying elbow as well as a flying fin there. Number 8, Rajamäki, a little bit naughty, I think. Gerard Houllier pointing to somebody in the box. This time they try the short one, and it was never going to come off. However, the score still remains nothing each. Beautifully played by Sosi, but nobody quick enough to that. Desailly playing in only his second game for France. Rather surprising that. He's 25. One would have thought there would have been more coming his way. And as the evening sets in here, I think the Finns are taking a little more satisfaction than the French out of this, who've missed a couple of chances. Played forward to Pettersjar, falling loose, but they break it up now. Whipped away there by Roche. Back to Petit. And he still cannot get it cleanly to that prolific scorer up front. Papas, oh, I think he's maybe had a couple of breaks, half breaks. Anyway, free kick to Finland. And Patalainen again on the receiving end of that. They're giving him the rough treatment. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Got it in the back of the neck again. But I suspect, well, I was wrong. I thought they would aim for his head again. They tried the low one, and that seems to be quite astonishing, with the setting sun obviously giving that defense such trouble to have tried that kind of shot. Mata. Picked up by Eriksson. Play to the back to Kanerva. And I think the ball's gone out, and one of the Finnish players lying right out there just now, Ari Hjelm, the player I was talking about, the top goal scorer. He is the man around whom they would build an attacking force. But I don't think the French, even if this game petered out into a no-scoring draw, I don't think they would be too perturbed about that. Again, it all depends on what is happening in Sofia tonight. at exactly the same time as this game is going on. But I think they've got matters under control, and I do like the very cool and temperate and structured way that Gérard Houllier has built this team up. Houllier down at the far side of the opposite dugout. I would imagine the Finnish manager Tommy Lindholm, whom you have just seen, would be telling his players just to keep plugging away in the hope that there's a lapse of concentration in defence, and that was almost it, as that was picked up there by Rajamäki. It was too much to his right side, although on the other hand, as I pointed out before, he does tend to get into good positions in the penalty area and then squander them. And Deschamps just picks himself up, shrugs, dusts himself down and gets on with it, which is a refreshing reaction compared to some of the play acting we get nowadays. 15 minutes of the first half remaining. Well, in the assessment of that first half hour with that opening blitz by France, obviously intending to put on the blitzkrieg and take the breath away, knock the stuffing out of Finland, but it just didn't happen. They've been playing a little spot since then. Great header by Cantona, and Eric and Papa halfway through that first half beginning to get a little bit of freedom for themselves, but so few shooting opportunities. A high ended up and under. Petelainen breaks. Good effort there by the big fellow. And the French defense almost in tatters there. Again caused by that high ball. I think there might have been a projection of a shadow which was helping the goalkeeper. But up went Petelainen again. Yes, it was in the shade, but it broke handily to Rajamäki. And good defensive work there by Blanc coming in and aided by Deschamps. And then there was the final push by Ari Hjelm. And Petelainen is bothering them in the air. Nicely flicked out by Litmanen. Rajamäki. Oh, it's a very good tackle by Sosi. Not only did he take the ball from him, he wanted to prove or show him he was the boss. Still no scoring though. Petit. Easily flicked back by Canerva. They've looked occasionally as if they might buckle and then have reorganized themselves. Still no scoring.
He's in Manhattan on Wednesday, Frankfurt on Thursday, Paris, Rome, and Vienna after that. He believes it's better to do business across a table than over a fax machine. This year, he'll fly more than 100,000 miles with us because he knows nobody understands him better than we do. At Delta, when we say we love to fly and it shows, this is where it shows.
The Uniroyal Weather Report. The outlook for Europe. Temperatures. The satellite picture. You can get all the details on weather concerning the main sporting events on Eurosport. And this every Friday and Saturday. The Weekend Weather Report on Eurosport is brought to you by Uniroyal, the rain tyre.
Well, I would imagine the French are a little bit disturbed at how this team have stayed the course so far and have just more than slightly ruffled the centre of the French defence when they played high balls into the penalty area. And the other thing is they'll be glad when the sun sets. Desailly. Oh, picked up by Petaja. Now, Litmanen going forward, trying to get a shooting chance. And oh, that's what he's like. He hits the woodwork. Oh, that's him at his best. No wonder he got Tommy Lindholm out of his seat. Watch this. The Ajax player did this no less than 3 times against PSV on Sunday, rattling the woodwork. The break is on, is it? No. Well, all I can say, as a commentator who built this man up prior to the game, and we've hardly seen him, for personal reasons, I'm delighted he's at last shown you what he's capable of. And that's the raggedness about the French when the ball is played simply into the box. And they must be realizing that they really haven't serviced the 2 men up front as well as they should have. Jari Litmanen, mark that name well, emerging as one of Europe's most exciting players. Notice how, faced by a defense, he made that slight maneuvering run to the side to give himself a little leeway and then let blast. Boxed in a corner is Petaja. Petaja from Malmo, by the way, playing in Swedish football, and is the most capped player of this present squad. By a long, long way, I have to say. Over 70 caps. Well, we're approaching half-time, and Gérard Houllier, the ex-school teacher, will have been doing his sums about the number of times the ball has been played forward to the 2 men up front, and will not be at all satisfied with that. Or indeed, the very fact that Frank Sozzi's hardly had a shot and goal, and nobody hits the ball harder than he. So though they've had more quality possession, I'm sure they're not at all happy. And that was a touch of petulance by Cantona that certainly wasn't needed. One superb save he's had from the head of Cantona. Deschamps. Martin got it away cleverly with his chest, and Papa did nothing more than jump towards the defender to put him off. Free kick. Away sprints Kinnunen. Oh, it's a very good run by Kinnunen, who's inside. Where's Patelainen? Not there when he was needed. Ball went too far beyond him. And look at the way that Deschamps can bring a ball out of defense like that. Make sure he keeps possession. There he is again. This time giving it away. Well, Deschamps can sometimes go through a game and you feel he's very anonymous. And then you look back on all the little touches he's made, the runs into space, the feeding of other players. He really is very influential. There he is again. Sozi came back deep. Oh, wonderful break here. Can he put the ball away? No, great save. And again, Lidmanen trying to chip the goalkeeper. Came up fast, right down the throat of the French defense. And the goalkeeper, Bernard Lama, remained cool now. I think he tried to take it with the outside of the foot here and curl it round. Indeed he did. Didn't get enough on it. And he scored a beautiful goal like that against PSV at the weekend. Nearing half-time, and the Finns must be reasonably satisfied with this. Not back there by Rajamäki. Neatly played out by Le Guen. Now Sozi. On to Martins, to Sozi. Cantona has now switched wings. Haven't seen him coming in from the right. Was a beautiful run and he overdoes it. Needed to lay that off, and that's offside. Deschamps had sneaked forward on that wing. Well intentioned. Well, there's a little flicker of emotion. Now a powerful run by Blanc, Laurent Blanc. Touched on by Le Guen. Game rather untidy at the moment, and France certainly not in it as they were in the first 20 minutes. We're now into the last 5 minutes. Now, not for 1 minute do I imagine that the Finns have drawn the teeth of the French. I think in the second half, after the team talk, the French will get themselves together a bit. Put in there by Rajamäki, just a bit too much. The crowd love the thrusts of this little player. Still no scoring though. And many of these Finnish players, of course, will be hoping that they share a similar fate to Litmanen by going to a prominent European club elsewhere. No chance of professional football ever establishing itself fully in Finland. Well, there's Lama. He likes doing that. Certainly doesn't bother him. Now Petit. Deschamps. That was Le Guen, and now down goes Martins, but the referee totally ignoring that, allowing the play to go. Looking for Patalainen. Well, Patalainen, I don't think his greatest asset is speed, but he was trying to get beyond Blanc there, who seems to be bleeding from the mouth slightly. Anyway, the Finns have a corner. Now, wouldn't this be one for the book if just before half-time they could go in the lead? Lindberg with it. Oh, simply through to Lama. And they're looking very solid now in defense, but the French midfield has rather disappeared. Now, what can they pick up? Sozi with it. On to Cantona. Cantona still with that bandage he wears now. Papa, little bit of freedom, and he's brought down. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Now I think they have a justified plea for a penalty kick. Now watch this again. Well, it was certainly embellished, but the ball's gone over for a corner, and I think the English referee was at fault there, frankly. Well, let me put it this way, in terms of percentages, I think 75% of that kind of tackling would have seen a penalty kick awarded. Still nothing each though. And the French will simply have to settle down. Not let that bother them at all. And I wonder if going through their minds is so near yet so far. Well brought down by Cantona. Look at that. Now this is the French at the best. This little one-touch football. That's a free kick, and now then, up will step Frank Sosi from Atlanta. And we shall see if he lets fly. And the last one, I think he let blast too directly. Cantona at his side, back go the defenders. Coming forward. Oh, he tried exactly the same one. Getting no loft into that at all. And you have to say that on the evidence of the way that the Finns have stuck to the task and occasionally produced flutters in that French defense, the game is evenly enough balanced. French a better footballing team by the proverbial mile, but sometimes it's not just about that. Referee's whistle will go any second. I don't think there's much stoppage time again. Patalainen, and I think the halftime whistle has gone. And I would have imagined the referee would have been concerned about the persistence of the fouling on Patalainen. But there goes Tommy Lindholm, reasonably satisfied with that. Kind of rueful expression there by Didier Deschamps. As he goes off, he had a little word to the referee. And I think the French will go in, have a good chin wag. I don't think it'll be a terribly passionate one. It's been lacking balance, I think. Confident Finnish supporter there, right in the front. And the French themselves, I'm quite sure, hoping to get perhaps even just one goal, because I think if they did that, it would be all over. They're confident enough, they were before the start of this game. And then they began to peter out. I think that might be slightly worrying Gérard Houllier. But the French have the ability of that, there's no doubt about it, but squandering the potential of the two men up front, as I said, Papa and Cantona. And we haven't had so much of the deep runs that Frank Sosi can turn in. They've been reasonably solid at the back. Miksu Patalainen getting a little personal message there. And there is Le Guen, Paul Le Guen from Paris Saint-Germain, right in the middle of that little group of players. And I think a bit of explanation required as to why they played in the last 20 minutes the way they did, with the Finns taking the sting out of the midfield very successfully. And certainly one of the best moves we've seen so far from Litmanen. hardly in the game, I have to admit, but when he burst upon it in the most dramatic and explosive way. That's what the French will have to watch. There he is on the right. As I said, he's also a steely character. He can stand up to some rough treatment, and will have to, of course, playing in the Dutch league. And off we go into the second half. Still no scoring, and France tantalizingly close to the stakes and simply waiting confirmation. Away breaks Le Guen. Le Guen going on, wrong side of Papin. They'll be interested in the Sweden-Bulgaria result, of course. Petit has not driven forward as much on the left. Deschamps coming away. Put out there by Cantona. Desailly, it's going in, no! And that, alongside Eric Cantona's header, the two clearest chances that France have had, and you can tell the difference. He's told them to push forward, Houllier. I think Desailly was lying very deep, and perhaps far too deep for the French manager, and then suddenly he burst forward in the first minute of the second half, and I think we're going to see a much more aggressive French performance, especially in this opening part of the second half. Sozzi with it, it is up deep and it's in, yes! Neatly taken, Blanc coming up, and such a simple goal for Blanc, the Saint-Etienne player, rising above everybody else, as he's done so often. He's scored 6 goals already for his country. And watch this, he gets in between two players, and the player who stepped out of his way, Canerva, must now blame himself for getting out of the way and presenting him with the simplest of chances. So, as I said, that is now his 7th goal for France. France leading 1-0. I did hint earlier on that if they achieved that, it would be very difficult to stop. Keenan to take this. Captained by Petit. I think we may see a much more relaxed performance. Actually, thinking back to the Sweden game that France played, I think France were more polished in that game against Sweden. Maybe they've been rather taken aback by the sheer determination of the Finns in this match. Almost off Le Guen there, now down to Litmanen. Hooked up in the air by Petalainen. They can't get the ball to Litmanen. A burst forward there by Eriksson. Big tall player, 6'2", quite speedy. Doesn't attack all that much though. Throw in by Keenan. Just taken away there by Petit. Was it captain play? It was. And look how deep Papin was. Down goes Cantona. That's a free kick. No, the referee waving play on. That's surprising. And more significantly, Papin was all the way back there on the edge of his penalty area. Here we have Roche, Alain Roche. Trying to play in the centre. There's Papa. Well, I think most of us would like to see him near that penalty area than his own. And that very athletic finishing style of his almost paying off there again. It's characteristic lying back there before he unleashes that shot. I think that'll be a free kick. It is indeed. Long way to go, of course. 45 minutes remaining. 40 minutes remaining and only one goal in it. Enough encouragement for the Finns to keep going at France. Cantona coming to get that ball there and going on the run. Nice little hit and run there. Papin was inside him. Oh, beautifully rushed forward there by Le Guen. And they've got a lot of players back though, the Finns. Good thrusting play from midfield. Again, that was lacking in the first half. Cantona. Petty was trying to get it back there, and we're seeing a lot of Le Guen now. Up it goes, and an easy one for Jalkonen. The French don't have a Patelainen up front, although, as we said, Papin is very good in the air as well. Free kick, the Finnish crowd don't like that. I think largely because they have seen Patelainen being laid about all over the place. A little Auxerre player down there burrowing his way through. Telling players to get back. It's a useful ball inside, but nobody coming from midfield to give support. It was far too square. Now Papin. Hardly seen him with a ball running in front of him in this match. That's a neat chip, and Cantona. Ooh, centimeters away from that. Run forward by Le Guen. Well, I thought that was intelligent play by Le Guen. Cantona did not read that at all well. Laid off there by Litmanen. And that's a disappointing ball, forcing Rajamäki to come back for it. Up comes Eriksson. And offside against Hjelm. Ran diagonally across the box. He's only had one opportunity in this game. He almost flicked the ball in after 10 minutes. But they still are one goal down.
Does your sanding disc act like a runaway train? Get back on track with Rotoflex. It never runs away. Rotoflex has a flexible shaft that absorbs vibration. It operates smoothly on doors, walls, or any flat work. For curved surfaces, just tighten this nut and you have perfect control on rounded corners. Sick of those flimsy discs that shred and tear? The Rotoflex discs last 100 times longer. They're so strong they can sand down a nail. And look, the discs attach with Velcro, easy on, easy off, yet they won't come loose until you remove them. Rotoflex comes with this amazing drill clamp that turns your drill into a complete workshop. Rotate it any way you want to give you a powerful grinder and more. Rotoflex is the most useful tool you'll ever own, and if you order now, you'll also receive this power polishing pad as a special bonus. Get the complete Rotoflex workshop. It's a sander, it's a grinder, it's a sharpener, it's a polisher, it's an entire system. Order your complete Rotoflex kit now. Please allow up to 21 days for delivery. This special offer comes with a full money-back guarantee. Order the amazing Rotoflex kit at a very special price now.
Friday, 8 p.m, the IAAF Grand Prix Final on Eurosport. Live from Crystal Palace, the curtain call to a record-breaking season. All the stars of world athletics meet in London. The IAAF Grand Prix Final is brought to you on Eurosport by Reebok. Friday, 8 p.m, the Grand Prix Final, live on Eurosport.
Bernard Lama trying to get that ball down. I think another goal would do it for the French. Trying to get some length there towards Cantona. But picked up there by Rajamaki. Desailly, I said the full-backs are beginning to come forward a bit more. Desailly, very good run on to Papa. Papa brought down right at the edge of the box. Cantona puts it away. But the whistle had already gone. And a nod of acknowledgement there by Papin for that beautiful little ball put through. And yes, he was fouled. I thought he should have had a penalty in the first half. And it is indeed, I think, he went across to the linesman and a penalty has been awarded. Well, the linesman right up in play. Be interesting to see that one again. Well, this is justice because he should have had one in the first half. And now one of the most famous players ever in French football. And there it goes. 2-0. And his 27th goal for France. And that player there, Jean-Pierre Papin, is only 3 goals away from equaling the record of that immortal French player, Just Fontaine. One of the great goal scorers of all time, Just Fontaine. And Papin surely will break that record, perhaps before the year is out. Well, I think the French can start worrying about the franc-dollar exchange rate. And there are a lot of people who think the French franc is rather too strong for comfort. Now Sosi. I wonder if the French are going to turn on the style now. If they do, it'll warm the cockles of everybody's heart because they have it in them to play as attractive football as anybody in Europe. And the Finns will find it very hard to get anything out of this game now. Litmanen fighting back for that. Petit driving in. Very determined tackle that indeed. Petit. It's deep. Cantona gets his head to it. Cantona, can he put it away? Oh, he wanted to lay it back. Well, that was very unselfish of him. Uncommonly, I thought he might have chipped. Certainly the goalkeeper was narrowing the angle, and he was diagonally going away towards a goal line. But it might have been better just a little chip with that left foot of his. I don't think they're too perturbed with 2 goals up. Cantona beginning to turn it on, no doubt about that. And Papa annoyed with the presence there of Kanerva, who's been going in very hard from the back. Markku Kanerva from Finland. Experienced player, the kind of caps, of course, that he's had, 29, against some very good opposition, and kept his place. Anders Eriksson from Brunn replaced Heikkinen, who played in the recent game against Austria. And Heikkinen, or Eriksson, is the most recent of all the Finn caps. Now, picked up by Sosi. Sosi looking for the deeper ball now. Looking away, Deschamps brought that down. Ooh, that's slack. And the steam, I think, has gone out of the Finns. That was Litmanen being unceremoniously brought down, and away trots Patalainen again. Free kick is getting a little bit rough in midfield. Papan had come back, and I think once or twice he's given the impression he was losing his temper. Cantona. Well, those wonderful dribbles of his. That's a great little ball. Now, is that not Cantona at his very inventive best? Could do with seeing that kind of football more often. Hard tackle there on Kanerva. Free kick. Taken by Kinnunen. Desai just comes away from that. And Papan lying deep, wanting to get into the play. Once again, will be fighting for his place, of course, in Milan, who drew nothing each, by the way, in the Serie A game tonight. Exactly half an hour remaining. Patalainen still getting his head to the ball. Seeing a little more now of Martin. Martin, cute dribble and a little bit too much. I like Martin when he picks the ball up and runs at the defense. He's fast, and at the same time his ball control is excellent. Deschamps, they're spreading the play about. Beautiful ball by Deschamps. Papin. Final ball not good enough, and indeed offside. Papin, I think, either was told or began to appreciate that he was staying in the middle of the field too much and was told to move around. And that's exactly what he's been doing in the second half. Well, the Finns still getting support from their loyal bunch of supporters. Chasing after that was Litmanen. He's been marked very closely in this game. Litmanen is still a very young lad. He's only 22. He's got a marvelous future in front of him. Trouble is, he's playing in a team largely incapable of utilizing and exploiting his talents. That's really what it boils down to. He's a class player in a very mediocre side. While Lama, a couple of little shivers in the first half. I think largely because of the lapse in concentration just in front of him. But since then, absolutely nothing. Sozi balanced that well, back to Sozi. He lets blast, brilliantly saved. A lovely, fluid movement there from midfield by the French. Sozi at the heart of it. And played back by Papa to him for that left-footed shot, because he can use both feet from that range. Well, once again, Blom was up there for that. Now to Martin. Cantona driving it in, lying back for that. And virtually exhibition stuff now from the French. Really turning on the start, and I'm quite sure the Finns are appreciating it all. 2-0.
If you have a vision, you harness all your energy, knowledge, and curiosity, then something extraordinary can happen which makes it possible for you to reach out for the whole world.
Hello?
We create superior products for all our futures. Samsung, technology that works for life.
NFL Magazine, the American pro football magazine. Every week, catch up with the latest news from the NFL. The best action. The hottest touchdowns. Plus, all the results and stats. Set off for the Super Bowl. NFL Magazine is brought to you on Eurosport by Reebok. NFL Magazine, Friday, 1 a.m. here on Eurosport.
Touchdown! Thank you very much yet again.
A wonderfully relaxed performance by the French in the last 10 minutes. They know this game is well beyond the reach of the Finns, and are not prepared to sit back. Now, I think that's a very welcome sight in modern football. Not just saying, well, we've come to get the 2 points and that's it. They're really playing. It's a natural and uninhibited style that they have, and they're showing that tonight. I must say, Deschamps playing under great strain as the captain of the side which has been expelled from Europe effectively, and which might mean the end of Marseille. You never know. They have great financial problems facing them. They already had, and now acutely exacerbated by the position. Well, Deschamps has come through this coolly, resolutely, and actually it's good to see. Whoops. Papa. Sozi measuring it up. There might have been a little deflection there, but you saw exactly what Sozi had in mind. You know, when you look at all the elements of this French side, a man in midfield who can drive a ball in harder and as hard and as accurate as anybody in the game, both moving or the dead ball position. A good front runner away from defenders in Papin with classical finishing. The trickery of Cantona, the hard work of Deschamps, solid central defenders. I mean, they really have all the elements of a side that could go far in the finals themselves. Always, I suppose, you have to put just a little question mark against temperament. And that was shown to be lacking in the European Championships. Papa. Finding the open space. Look at the way that Deschamps got into a position to take that, though. Cantona, a little bit slack that time. And the Finns looking quite bewildered now. And it comes to Rajamäki. Oh dear. The run came too soon for Patelainen. Well, I watched all of France's games, and by far the weakest was their very first against Bulgaria. And they lost by 2-0. 2 goals, by the way, coming in exactly 6 minutes. They were struck right in the middle of that first half against Bulgaria. But by Jove, they have recovered since then. Says a lot for Gérard Houllier that he's welded them together as effectively. Italy played by the outside of the foot by Sosi. Le Guen tried to get that going. And still he remains with that professorial look about him. Kind of erudite gentleman on the sideline who obviously imparts some intelligent information to his players. Forward by Blanc. I just get the impression the French are now taking a little snooze, as it were. They just have bundled up a lot of energy in that last 15 minutes or so, turning on the style. This little waspish character, Rajamäki, easily dealt with that time, but back he comes. And he's got a bit of a sting, as I suggested. A little bit reckless there. Oh, he went in hard, and that was Petit going down. The referee had a little word with him. Petit from Monaco. And as I pointed out, in case you haven't heard, the French have nominated Monaco to take the place of Marseille in the European Cup. Well, he manages to get back up all right. Wearing these bicycle shorts, so favored by footballers nowadays. And the tall custodian Laurent Blanc about to take this. Much better midfield performance by France than the latter part of the first half. A lot of credit, by the way, must go to Corentin Martin, the little Auxerre player. Working very hard down the left-hand side of the field for France. And Liedmanen must be feeling rather forlorn now. Jari Liedmanen playing in the company of very talented players at Ajax, and then having to come and watch, at the very best, a painstaking performance by his mates. Papa. We kept that very well. They were snapping at him too. Well, that's what I said, painstaking. They just stick to the task. Nothing much to them, though. And that's given away by Cantona. "20 minutes remaining." Is that a free kick? It is indeed. Desailly complaining to the referee. So a header by Laurent Blanc and the penalty by Papin. The 2 goals in it at this stage as that is taken, flicked forward by Petaja. And again, getting into the box, Rajamaki. But the whistle is gone, free kick. And Bernard Lama taking his time about this. Like they feel they've done enough. Way down to the left. Cantona turned very well in that, lifting up the pace of the game again. Oh, beautiful stuff. Gorgeous ball and offside. Great play by Cantona though. Really did carve them up again. And we're going to have a substitution. It's going to be Reynald Pedros coming on from Nantes. Pedros coming on with, as I've said, just under 20 minutes remaining. And very good performance indeed by the little man I was praising earlier, Corentin Martin. Well, the French, I think, just resting a little bit at this stage. By the way, there are 2 ponytails on the field, one slightly longer than the other, and it's difficult to tell one ponytail from another, to be honest. Both on the Finnish side, I have to say. Touch back by Petty, who's recovered from that knock he got, and a pretty hard one. Almost brought down there. Sozi trying to get hold of it. Desailly fighting back. And now picked up by Le Guin. And I think having scored 2 goals there, the French may be wanting to increase it as Papin, thinking of goal difference, went forward in that. But it still remains 2-0.
My car, you'd be blue, like the sky. No, red. No, cool blue, like the sea, like your eyes. Loaded with style and personality, German engineering with plenty of curves. You'd be wild inside, full of new ideas. You'd make me feel safe with body lock seatbelts, side impact crash protection. You'd be this car, new Opel Corsa, my car. That's right, an Opel.
Bernard Lama never really bothered terribly much in this game. Scorers in the match so far, Blanc and Papin from the penalty spot. That ball chased out by Patalainen. Oh, and their final ball into the penalty area has been shocking in the second half. 2-0 for France, and when you look over the goal scorers, they have been spread very interestingly, coming at different and crucial times for them in games. Against Austria and against Finland, both goals in these games were scored by Papin and Cantona. And then the midfield players began to score goals. Blanc got a couple, remember, with a head, one with a head against Israel, as well as Alain Roche. Papin scored the only goal of the game in Vienna. Cantona got a couple against Sweden at home. And then Frank Sozi scored perhaps the most spectacular goal of them all recently against Sweden. So the goal scorers have been spread across the spectrum in this team, from defence to strikers to midfield players, and a coach could not ask for more than that. Well, they're still eager enough to keep going at it. Kinnunen inside. Nice little touch forward there by Litmanen, but it's going to be a free kick. Hard in was Alan Roche. Hasn't come forward all that much. Here's Eriksson. Way by Desai. Litmanen again with a shot, but didn't get behind it. No real digging at it. Again, he's chipping it high in the air. Well, Tommy Lindholm looking impassive, but he's playing against a very good side tonight. Classy side. And forward there, that's Chiama's got away outside. Does that very well. Where's a cross over, taken by Alan Roche though, and then Bernard Lama, who wanted that ball much more than the Finnish players you would see from that picture. There's no way he was going to lose out in that. Well, France have a very good World Cup record by standards of other nations in Europe. They were third in 1958. They reached the semi-finals in 86. Although they weren't in the World Cup in 90. Just under 10 minutes remaining. Cantona. Just forward for the 1-2. Played out there by Le Guen, and then to Deschamps. A little bit obvious, that pass. So it all hinges on how that other game is going. Sweden against Bulgaria in Sofia. Never an easy task. Well, there's a nice burst of speed there by Petaja. And in steps Blown to take that away. Wanting to come forward himself. Just kept in by Petit. And they walked themselves out of that very tight position well. Okay, they lost possession, but it could have been worse. There goes Ruanen. And Desai doing very well to chip that back as he fell. That was the sub, Pedros. Petit. They brought on that midfield player there just to bolster it up. And they're playing simply for the final whistle now, just drawing the Finns towards them. They're wanting the Finns to commit themselves to the tackle. They played all their attractive stuff in the last third of the field in the first 20 minutes. But the break there by Pedros. Couldn't bring the ball down, and I think he fouls as well. It'll be a free kick. The French built up that move very slowly from midfield, giving Pedros the opportunity to get forward on the left. I think a free kick there, and some harsh words between the two players, and a booking for Sozi. Sozi and Summanen arguing with each other. So a yellow card by Sozi. And that was the lateness of the tackle that brought the rebuke from the referee. Well, Cantona has been coming very deep occasionally. We saw this from Papa as well. That's nicely put forward by Roche, who's decided to come forward. And a harsh clash there. And I don't know why the Finns are losing their tempers about this. Roche went straight into the opposite number, Pitaja. Now watch this again. Well, he did have his eye on the ball. There was a collision. But I think he went fairly for the ball. Back it goes to Liedmanen. There he is again, trying to pass on the outside. And the Finnish player just gave up on that. Laurent Blanc, very useful in the air. Scored his 7th goal tonight for France. And 3 of these I know have been by headers. So France at the moment are getting all the component parts right. Just a matter of getting them to blend properly when they do get to the States, as is now inevitable. Sozy, Papa a little late taking off for that, but that's a good ball. And it must be all just off the line from the substitute, Reynald Pedros. We're into the last 5 minutes, and it could so easily have been 3. Not that it matters all that much. And they'll all be interested to find out how Sweden and Bulgaria get on. Remember, France lost the very first game in Bulgaria by 2-0. So Sweden trying to go better than that. Sweden and France tonight, before tonight, on the same pointage. Now Liedmanen laid it out to the outside, and I don't think he's paying all that much attention to this game now, Liedmanen. He just fed that ball away as if he were passing the buck, and he didn't want to run in for the cutback. I'm sure the Finnish crowd would be delighted to see the ball in the back of the net. Ari Hjelm, the top goal scorer, taking this across it goes, but Bernard Lammers showing that toughness of his in the air. Difficult to see him losing the ball out in this. And of course, lacking in front of him Basil Boli, who's injured. You've got to take that into account as well. That's Le Guen. Well, the French have to be complimented on giving us some superb moments in this game, especially after they had scored that second goal. Really turned on the style. This is a sub, Pedros. Ooh, it almost got through. Nice little weighted pass in the general direction of Cantona. Well, we're having another substitution again. Ullier personally escorting them to the touchline. This time is Vincent Guérin from Paris Saint-Germain. And off comes Didier Deschamps, broad smile in his face, and a consolatory pat for him and smile by Ullier. And now they're just simply going to batten down the hatches. 2 subs on now for France. Trying to find Hjelm there. There goes Cantona. Oh, lovely run through there by Papin, and I thought he had taken off in an onside position when the ball was played. Oops, and there's some nasty words going on out there now. I can well understand this man's frustration. I thought he had a good glimpse along the line first when he took off for that. And most unfortunate to be drawn up. Played to the outside to the sub, Ruonen. On a wasted ball, Petit getting to that very easily with 1 minute left of ordinary time. The French coasting, cruising towards the United States. Eric Cantona, a little bit too much, but fights hard for it. The Finns made a very good game of it in the first half, but they were eventually outclassed. The finer touch football telling in the end. They tried to open that out again. Kanerva making a mess of that. Nice touch by Cantona, full of these tonight. Forward came Suman in there. Gives it to the sub, Ruonen. And back down to Litmanen again, trying to get an opening for himself. He carved one gloriously in the first half when, having done absolutely nothing in the game, and out of virtually nothing, he almost took the left-hand post away with a ferocious shot. He is a little gold nugget playing amidst dross in this Finnish team. Well, Lama was under pressure, and I think the referee's going to give a corner kick. He seemed to take the ball very confidently to start with. Oh. And I don't think he's too worried about that one. Very civilized, cultured man, speaks fluent English, and talks a very interesting game of football indeed. Ooh, it's not far away as Kanerva came in. I would make that about their only chance in the second half. Totally outclassed, brilliantly outplayed at times. And indeed the French should only be kicking themselves that they ought really to have scored more in this game. And I think that is the final whistle as the crowd draws. So the whistle just rolls above it. Gérard Houllier complimenting his men. He knows that they've qualified for the States. And the French players delighted with themselves, and I suppose, in a sense, it's compensation for the terrible stain that has been laid against the character of French football by Olympique Marseille. And that has been balanced out to a certain degree by this performance tonight.